I think the most important thing that I always say to people when they ask me questions about what do I need to do to become a photographer or start a business, it's just your network. It's just the people around you. They say you're the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with. And I think that's really quite a powerful statement, actually, because who you surround yourself with is going to make you a better person. It's going to make you grow. It's going to challenge yourself. They're going to be there to support you, to love you. I think building relationships with people and connecting with them is the most important thing that you can do in business.
Welcome to Very Beginning, a podcast where we shift the narrative from happy ending to exciting beginning. My name is Anastasia, and through conversations with inspiring entrepreneurs, athletes, influencers, and all-around trailblazers, I'm looking to explore how we can get more comfortable with change and find the courage to unlock that scary first chapter to something we've been wanting to do for far too long. So, without further ado, and so it begins. So Beth, let's take it from the very beginning. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. It's happy to be here.
Yeah, so thrilled to be talking to you today. I'll let you introduce yourself, but maybe just a super short synopsis. You are a photographer, as of recently a videographer. Congrats on that launch. And I believe you've been in business for about 6 years. And you recently, I think, had your work self-employment anniversary.
I did, yes. It was great. Yeah, so I've been a personal branding and product photographer for 6 years now, which is really, well, it's really exciting, and I love my job. And I've done lots of different things to get to this point, which has been an interesting journey. But yeah, that's what I do now. I'm based in South London, and yeah.
That's super exciting.
Doing video.
And how did you really get to that point? Like, did you study photography or videography in school? Was that something you always knew you wanted to do, or did you shift careers and kind of decide to do self-employment at some point?
I never thought that I would be a business owner. So I didn't study business at school, which I probably should have. I just always knew that I wanted to be a photographer and didn't know the route to go down to pursue that into a career. I just finished my A-levels and worked really hard. And I was so over doing the whole education system and going to uni. It just wasn't right for me. So I wasn't really sure how I was going to get there. I was working in retail. I've worked in retail since I was 16. And so I've got a background in customer service. So I know how to work with people, how to talk to people. I'm not scared of putting myself out there. So yeah, I built a website that was not the best, but I tried and photographed as many sort of family and friends that I could, just to build up a portfolio and get that out there so that people could see and potentially start booking. But yeah, it wasn't the conventional way. I was very fortunate, actually, and I don't think we've spoken about this before, but I entered a competition in 2016 that was hosted by the Photography Show, which is like a national sort of event that's held in Birmingham, and it's where you go to go and look at all things photo and video, equipment, software, props, training. It's the big kind of a big deal. And so yeah, I entered a competition that was actually being hosted by them, a training company, and Nikon, which is
yeah.
And so yeah, I entered this competition, had to go through a series of rounds, series of challenges. I was invited to the NEC to do some of these challenges. I had to go and photograph, take a photograph that's celebrated light and find that within the exhibition centre, but you can go outside to working with artificial light. Bearing in mind, I'm fresh out the womb with this. I had no idea what I was doing.
That's so exciting.
The youngest participant.
Wow. How old were you at that point?
I think I was 20.
Okay.
20, 21?
Yeah. So very young.
21, yes.
Yeah.
Because I was born in 95.
Yeah.
And I felt very young compared to the other people that were taking part. And I had the oldest laptop there. It wasn't even an Apple Mac. It was a Windows. And I was using Microsoft Office Picture Manager to edit rather than, Lightroom and Photoshop and what have you. So I felt very vulnerable, very scared. But sort of tried to navigate it in the best way and just take everything with a pinch of salt. Yeah. Just be excited about it. Very fortunate and grateful that I was, invited to go. And so I ended up going through all these challenges. And then the last challenge was you had to photograph a model on stage in front of a live audience while you're mic'd up. And that was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying.
That sounds so scary.
I didn't know what I was doing. And so the camera that I was using was tethered.
Yeah.
It meant that the photos I was taking were shown on the screen to the audience.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how to use this camera. What's happening? And by some miracle, at the end of it, they called my name as the winner.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
So I ended up winning
That's incredible.
hefty prize fund with new equipment,
Wow.
website, branding.
That was your start, essentially. Yeah.
That was what
Mm-hmm.
kickstarted.
Yeah.
So that was insane.
Yeah.
And I don't, there's not a lot of people that
No.
can say that they've done that.
No.
So I'm really proud of that. That's like my most proud achievement today,
Yeah.
for sure.
That's incredible. And I think there's so many lessons to take from that, like even for people in different industries. But the fact that you said like you were the youngest there, right? It's always so scary to be the youngest person in the room. Like I know from my work experience, even like in a corporate setting, when you are fresh out of college or, fresh out of grad school and you're the youngest person, you're always like, is like what I have to say valuable? Does that, kind of compare to all these people who are more experienced? And I can't imagine how you must have felt being there with like probably really experienced photographers with all their fancy equipment, and you're there kind of right out of school with like really, but that's so incredible.
Scary. But it was so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's what matters in the end,
that's what
right?
pushed me through.
Yeah.
I had so much fun, and I was really fortunate that my partner came along with me.
Oh, that's nice.
Me,
yeah.
Because I don't think I'd ever been to a different county.
Yeah.
Okay, before. Not out of London anyway.
And probably like, that freshness and that joy that you brought to it, that's probably what, kind of made you, stand out from the rest. And I think that's also something that everyone can always like remind themselves of, that not only does your voice matter, your opinion matter, but even if you have, a completely unexperienced, kind of set of views on a topic, it's fine because you bring something new to the table. Like my biggest kind of criticism always in companies that I've worked before is like, well, you hire the same kind of people, right? And I think here the same thing applies. Like you were very different, right? Like that's why you stood out. You didn't have the fancy equipment, and that like what made you you.
I think it's how you carry yourself, isn't it? And what you can bring to the table aside from all the qualifications you have.
Yeah.
It's your personality, your opinions, your thoughts that matter just as much as
100%.
all of your knowledge and skill that you've accumulated in that industry that you're working in.
And I wanted to actually talk a little bit more about the fact that you said you were really young then. And I did some digging on your Insta, of course, as preparation. And I found a post from a few years ago where you said, I look like a 16-year-old, feel like a 60-year-old, but I'm actually 25. And all jokes aside, like when I read that, it really resonated, because while like people normally don't tell me I'm younger because I don't know, I'm tall or look mature, but there's still something really to be said about being a woman in business. And in your case, also looking quite young.
Yes.
So I was really curious, like how has this been for you? Have you found this to be challenging, also to be taken seriously, right? To be taken serious as a business owner, as a professional photographer? How has this experience been for you?
I think it's been perfectly fine, to be honest, as a business owner. It's not something that anybody's questioned. It's just been something that I've got on with. And again, I think I do look young, but I don't necessarily act super young.
That's true.
I'd like to think.
No, you are an old soul.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind. I don't know. I've always felt like I've been a little bit maturer than my actual age was, like growing up. Very independent.
Yeah.
Wanted to go out, earn my own money, didn't want to rely on anybody else. And so that was really important to me. But no, it's not been an active challenge, I would say, where people have criticised me for it.
Yeah.
I think people have probably admired the fact that, yes, I am young.
Yeah.
I was young and, acted in the way that I did in a professional manner. I think that's what's really important. And what I've tried to uphold even. Is that professionalism and just trying to do my job to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
I think that's what's been...
That's all you can do at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And people will always talk, right? Like no matter if you look young, old, if you're, I don't know, tall or short, like people will always find something to criticize about you. I mean, I've experienced more kind of people being like, oh, you like the blonde stereotype. Like, are you smart enough? Or, you know, like in school, I liked being creative, but I also liked math and like other subjects. And people will be like, wait, but how can you be good at math? Like you don't look like a typical, you know, kind of person who would be good at math. So it's always like, there will always be stereotypes with anything. Yeah. So I think that's such a valuable thing to like really just like get on with it. Do your thing and don't worry about that.
Totally. I think as well, you can't control what people think about you. And if people are saying stuff behind my back, whatever, that's
their problem.
Yeah, like I haven't heard it, so it hasn't affected me directly. Yeah. I also shoot weddings as well.
Oh, you do?
I do, yeah. It's a separate sort of website, Instagram.
Yeah, nice.
You know, two different
Of course.
And so there have been a few like Uncle Bob's at weddings.
Oh gosh.
And it's the old white man with the camera.
Oh gosh.
You know, trying to make comments and things like that. And I just sort of let it go over my head. Yeah. Because I'm like, this isn't about me. It's you projecting whatever. And I'm here to do a job for my couple. Yeah. You don't need to be here with your iPad that's like 8 megapixels, you know, and crap. Yeah. You know, just let me do my job. Yeah. And I'll share them all with you. But yeah, I think the difficulty with that is that they have the pictures instantly. So they can send their photos the same day, the next day. And so then the couple are then using their photos rather than yours. So yeah, it's there are lots of challenges. But yeah, no, when you work with people, there's always going to be challenges, isn't there? Because everyone's got different opinions and points of view, and you're trying to resonate and reason with people, and it's just hard.
And it actually was a question I had, like, I can imagine knowing a few people who are like that, and people are so particular, right, about having the picture taken. I mean, some hate it, some love it. So I was curious, have you encountered people, clients that have either been like very particular about angles, or in the after like shoot process, like being very particular about editing, maybe requested photoshopping, maybe requested, you know, I don't know, their nose to be straightened or stuff like that. Like, how do you deal with that? And do you kind of try to just please your clients and satisfy them? Or is there kind of a line where you say, well, no, this is also at the end of the day my work. It will go into my portfolio, so I have to really, you know, kind of stand behind what I do. So how do you deal with that?
I think it's on a case by case basis, and it depends on the request. But ultimately, I'm not a retoucher. That is somebody's full-time job in itself, and I can only do what I can do. Yeah, I haven't trained in it. I haven't done any courses, so it's literally me, Photoshop, trying to navigate that together. So, you know, it's a case-by-case basis. It depends on what they're asking me. Yeah. I won't alter, edit, or manipulate any body shapes. If anybody says to me, can you make it slimmer?
Do people say that?
Yeah.
Wow.
On like 50% photo shoots.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or weddings, particularly like guests.
Oh, I can imagine. Guests ask that.
Guests ask that.
No way.
Yeah, and I'm like,
no, not my job.
Not my job. And I'd say that probably 90% of clients or people that I photograph say, I have taken. 90%.
Wow.
Yeah, it happens more regularly than people think. And I think if more people recognise that and realise that, they'll start to look at themselves and go, hang on a minute. I don't need to hate how much I've taken, because I'm actually lovely. I deserve to be documented, and that's how I feel about people. So it makes me really sad when I hear that. And I hear it all the time. So it's like, it's raining on me. I'm like, oh, of course. God, why does the nation feel like this? It's not okay.
Yeah. And probably especially women, I can imagine. Yeah. I mean, you specialize in female entrepreneurs.
I do,
anyways.
I a lot of women. So that is a large chunk of that. But yeah, I definitely, if someone says to me, can you just remove this scratch I've got on my arm? Or like if someone's got mascara falling out of their eye.
Of course.
Like that. But when it comes to, I can only photograph what's there. And document, you know, what's in front of me. So, and I try and do that to the best of my ability, and you know, use flattering angles, and try and get the best out of my clients to get those really happy, genuine expressions. Which obviously, you know how that feels.
Yes, you did my brand shoot, and you actually did my podcast cover. I know. So props to you. No, and honestly, like I'm not a person. I don't love it and I don't hate it. I'm kind of I don't know,
Yeah.
I guess neutral to it. I'm not a selfie person. Like I never take selfies of myself, but yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing to just stand there and people take pictures of you. Like, I don't know, not something I like love doing, but you know what? I had so much fun with you. Like, I think we also kicked it off, like we just vibed, but you have such a great way of making people feel really comfortable. And like, I can only speak to myself, but like, I really felt so comfortable with you. And I think that's a talent and a skill that you have. And I actually remember talking about editing when we shot. My puppy was still really young, and I had like all my hands were like full of bites and scratches, and I was like, maybe if we can edit that.
Of course, yeah. Things like that. Yeah, permanent. Yeah, of course. Yeah. I can help do that. But no, I thank you for saying that first of all, because that's really lovely. I don't know what it is. I think I try and take a really informal and just warm approach to photographing people. Like, I know it's a big deal. People don't like it.
No.
And it is scary. Like, I had my brand photos done a couple of months ago with one of my friends.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what am I doing? Like, I need you to help me.
People just become like, I feel like as soon as the camera is rolling, you just become like awkward and stiff, and you're like,
Chandler Bing meme, where the camera comes up, and like,
hello,
doing this horrible smile. And like, oh god, it's because it's this big dark thing that's being held in front of somebody's face, and I feel like you really connect with people when you're looking in their faces, you know, giving them eye contact, and so that's why I try and like talk. I'm exhausted after photo shoots.
No, I'm sure.
Talking.
And you give it your all. Like I think, you know, a lot of photography, it's also energy, right? And like, I really felt like you were giving me a lot of energy. And I think that's why I had so much fun. And that's why it was so enjoyable. And I also like that, you know, kind of you also gave suggestions about like what to do with hands, or because that's always awkward. Like, what do you do with those things? Or like to move, right? To not stand still, to use props. Like, I think these are all really helpful things that people can use, right? Like, even if they do like take pictures of themselves or not in a professional environment, like really, really helpful advice.
Yeah, I think knowing what to do with your hands and your feet and your legs is a really hard one. So I try and put a lot of like posing. And
guidance.
Yeah, and I don't like the word posing, but I don't think, I feel like a lot of other people have a negative connotation towards that because they think it's like duck lips and you know, that whole kind of selfie vibe. But it's not, you know, it is just putting your body in a certain way to make it look flattering, comfortable and relaxed. It's difficult. Some people find it hard to take on what you're saying. And I have to be careful as well. Like, I'll come up to people and be like, can I just move your hair? Can I just move your, you know? I'm like, you're not getting it, so let me just
but that's good to be hands-on. I
think so.
No, that's awesome.
I think it helps.
So then videography.
Yes.
That's a whole new beast. And again, I love that when you kind of announced it on social media, and I think you just did like 2 weeks ago or so, right? Like you launched it. And you even said that it's like really outside of your comfort zone. And at the same time, that's really the reason why you're doing it, because you want to challenge yourself and you want to like start something new. And when I saw it, I was like, I have to have Beth on my podcast because like, that's what I'm all about, right? Like to do these scary things and do something new and put yourself out of your comfort zone, because I truly believe like that's how we grow and that's how we can evolve. So for you, what made you kind of expand your services? Where I would almost say bored for photography, but did you just feel like videography is so relevant, it's something you want to also offer, or did like something happen that you decided to do it? Was there anything specific going on?
It's been in the making for 2 years.
Wow.
If not a little bit longer. Yeah, so I did my first maybe brand film in like 2019. That was 4 years ago. So my maths, again, is not maths is quite strong because we've already covered that. So it's been an idea I've had for a while, and it's something that I've wanted to offer for a long time. And it wasn't because I was bored at all. I love photography. And I think that was one of the things I mentioned, was that I'm so confident and secure in my photography services that it was more about just pushing myself and challenging myself to learn a new skill completely, but it was still relevant and still tied in with the photography. So but video is a whole different ball game, and a lot of people think that you can switch just like that and know what you're doing. That's incorrect. It's a whole different discipline. You're managing different settings. You are managing different like stances. you've got to be so still. And I am like a leaf. So I've had to buy a stabilizer.
Wow.
I'm investing in buying new kit and training. I bought a new course as well on how to become a brand videographer. So it's a change, but it's good, and it now felt like the right time. I was thinking about doing it last year and didn't have a plan involved. And I think that's what threw me off. I was like, I've got no plan, I've got no content I can post. Whereas at the beginning of this year, I just said to myself, I need to go and film the content, make sure I've got like
just do it.
Yeah, like why am I holding myself back?
Yeah.
Because all I'm going to do is see other businesses expand and grow, which I now have. Like some of my friends have now started to offer it.
Yeah.
And so I'm just going to get left behind. And, video is the way forward. I think photos still will always have a place. Yeah,
for sure.
Regardless.
But everything is becoming video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really important.
Hence why we're doing a video podcast.
Exactly. I think it's really important. I think it's super relevant. And it's the way forward. People love to consume. They want to see moving image way more than text.
Or static.
Yeah.
You know what I really love what you said is that you launched it 2 weeks ago, but it was 2 years in the making. And I wasn't aware of that. It didn't seem like that on social. And that's something I think that happens to every business owner, right? That like you work on something. And I had the same with my podcast. Like, let's say it starts with an idea, right? Like you have an idea maybe like even years ago, and then it starts building on yourself. And like at some point you can't ignore it. So you like finally jump into action. But then like there's so much pre-work that no one sees, right? And like oftentimes when you hear like people like, I don't know, in the media who are really popular or famous and being described as like, it's a newcomer, right? But more often than not, these newcomers have been working on things for like years and sometimes decades. And I think that's also such a valuable lesson to, kind of know how much is going on in the background before you even get somewhere. And that like sometimes when you start something, it doesn't even mean that you're a complete beginner because you might have already been working on it for years.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that people don't see or hear about because some things might not be quite finished. Also, I think there's an aspect of vulnerability there.
Yes.
We don't want to put something out there that isn't quite perfect or that we haven't completed because we don't really know how it's going to look like. And I think that's a challenge in itself. And it's hard to know when the right time is to launch
anything.
Oh, yeah, totally. And also finding the time. Like,
yes.
I've also, I'm going to say this because
please
I'm
do.
here now. I've also thought about launching my own podcast.
Yes.
And again, I tried to do it last year with a friend. It didn't work out because her schedule was super busy. And then I got really busy and I'm like, oh, do I still want to do this? Is it still going to work? But, I've been thinking about it for a little while and sometimes you need that time to sort of mull it over.
100%.
But also you've got to think that you've got a job, got a home life, family, friends, going to try and have some aspect of a social life.
Yeah. It's tough. Sleep.
Sleep.
Get maybe a workout in every once in a while.
Exercise. Yeah,
it's tough.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We give ourselves too much to do and there isn't enough time. So it's hard, but I feel like we shouldn't put as much pressure on ourselves as we do because we're trying our best and that's the main thing. And even if we do like a little bit every couple of months or once a week or whatever, that's still progress.
100%. Every little step is progress, right? Like every little thing you do in a certain direction is progress. And over time, it will accumulate. Yeah. And I'm glad you said, thinking about you want things to be perfect, because I am also a notorious perfectionism, and I think so many people are. And I think, it's not horrible, right? Like it's good that you have high standards. It's good that you're like trying to always do your best. But it can also really stand in your way. Like I know for myself, like also with like episodes or stuff that I bring out or create, like I overthink so much. And like there's this concept called analysis paralysis. I was just like telling my mom about it because she was like, what is that? And I am such a victim of it because sometimes I just overthink things so much and think like, oh my God, no, it's not perfect yet. But then you don't do anything. And I had a guest on recently, Tamina, in my podcast. And she said, you know what? done is better than perfect.
I was just going to say the same thing.
And I think that's so important to really keep in mind that, just do it. And even now, like looking back at like my very first one, I was like, well, that's a bit cringe, but that's okay because the beginning will always be a bit, cringy and it will never be perfect. So you might as well do it.
You're doing it wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's the whole point. It's about growth. It's really...
And it's also fun to see how you grew. Like, it's fun. I'm really looking forward to hopefully like in a year from now when I have, I don't know, more episodes, 20, 30, to look back and be like, wow, I'm proud of the progress I made.
I made it to this point.
Yeah.
You've got, you can also compare that to, where other podcasts are, not in a negative way, but in a space that's like, oh,
exactly.
I've made this statistic.
Yes.
There are some statistics out there about like small businesses and a lot of them don't make it past 5 years.
Yeah.
And so once
you've made it.
I have.
Congrats.
Little yay for me.
Big yay for you.
Big yay for me. Thank you. Yeah, no. But that's my point. So you can say, I made it to 30 episodes and that's more than whatever the statistic is for that. And I think, we can pat ourselves on the back. Like your previous guest said, done is way better than perfect. Just get it out there.
Get it out there.
You can fine tune it, tweak it. Just put it out there somewhere.
Or not, because sometimes I even feel like people appreciate content that is authentic and that is not polished and that is not perfect. Like,
I think that's the way things are going.
Yeah, like I know even for myself, like stuff that I like to watch of content creators I really like. It's not because of like how amazing their, like videos look. And some do, like some, who are very successful have great, editing and lighting and everything. But others, I just really like the content. Like I really like what they're saying or kind of the value they're providing. So I think that's also important to keep in mind.
Absolutely. I think there's a balance between, investing in all that kit. Because if you've got money to do that, then amazing. But if you don't, you can still have a really great conversation.
Absolutely.
As long as you've got, in a podcast space, as long as you've got
mic.
Great mics,
a mic or two. Yeah, for sure. Well, another question I wanted to ask you, kind of all about being self-employed. And you said now you made it to 6 years, past that 5-year mark, which is amazing. But I can't imagine self-employment. I mean, I know it even from like remote work, but it can be lonely, can't it? And that's really something I was wondering, like how do you manage that? Like, are you part of like, I don't know, photography networks? Do you actively reach out to people in the same industry? Because you said like you work also from home, right? You're working with yourself and sure you have clients, like you meet with them, but it can be lonely. So how do you deal with that?
It's incredibly hard. And it was hard in the beginning when I wasn't getting as much work done because I was just sitting at home tearing my hair out. And there's no one to bounce off of. So I live at home still with my mum, my dad, my brother. And my dad's self-employed. My brother does shift work. And my mum works till like 2 p.m. So there's always people in the house.
That's nice.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Because I need to have a conversation with
Of course. We're humans. Like, yeah.
So like during the day, like lunchtime, I might see someone. I might not. But it's nice to sort of have that. And we've got a dog as well, so it's nice to get out and walk the dog and have a clear headspace. But in terms of like speaking to other people, over the years I've gradually built up a lovely network.
That's wonderful.
Of amazing photographers that I can now call my friends, which is great, and I can ring them up. I actually have a scheduled regular call. Somebody that I did my course with when I did that competition. She was on the course as well, and we stayed really good friends. I speak to her every week, have that accountability, what are we working on this week, what do we want to get done, and give each other like advice and things like that, and that's really great and it's so needed. But when I first started, it was hard to know where to reach out. I was worried, and obviously I started out doing weddings. I researched some photographers that I really liked, whose work I really liked, and who seemed genuinely nice people on their website. So I sent them like a personalised email. There's maybe about 5 people. I think one came back to me and she said, join this networking space, and it was called Wedding Breakfast Club. But it was just like a 2-hour, 3-hour sort of brunch, and have a meal, and you go to people and just connect and get out of the house.
Exactly.
It's so important.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know where to look for these spaces and not being advertised to you. I think when I was in that space looking for somewhere, or not necessarily looking for somewhere, but looking for someone, and I was pointed in that direction, I don't think I would have found it on my own, because I don't think the sort of Facebook and Instagram advertising was as heavy as it is now. I feel like it would have been harder for me to find. But even in the brand space, like, again, some of my closest friends that I found in photography, I found because we just ended up randomly following each other because we're both brand photographers. And so we have something in common. And I don't see them as competition, or didn't see them as competition. I just thought, hey, this is a girl who's similar to me, my age, does a similar thing in a different county, but still close enough that we can potentially meet up. And yeah, I think it's so valuable because it can be extremely lonely, and it's something that I definitely struggled with. I mean, that's the reason why I wanted to focus on photographing female entrepreneurs, because I wanted to find friends.
I love that.
I wanted to find like-minded people that I could then be like, hey, let's meet up for a coffee after we've done a shoot. Or, you know, hey, if you came to me and said, hey, I need a copywriter, I'd be like, great, one of my previous clients is
come on my podcast.
Exactly. So it's about building relationships with people. It is. And not only with people that are in my industry, but my clients as well. And that's why I target a specific group.
And I love also that lesson behind it, that kind of, especially working with different women, or, you know, having women as clients, that if we, you know, collaborate and lift each other up, we all become more powerful together. And like, I think that this narrative you see more and more, which I really love, because I don't know, growing up, I did always kind of have that little bit kind of like limiting thought or belief system that, well, places for women are rare, like in the business context, right? Like you don't see that many women being really at the top, so I have to compete. Yes. And I had that belief system for a really long time until, you know, kind of, I don't know, at one point, I don't even know if something specific happened, but it was just thinking like, I don't want to compete with this woman. Like, I think she's fantastic. I want her to be my mentor. I want her to be my friend. I want to learn from her, but we can thrive independently, and her success doesn't mean my failure, you know?
Absolutely.
So I love that you say, you know, kind of connect with people, with clients, with even people doing the same thing, right? It's not your competition.
I think there's space for everyone. And I think if you make a big enough impact and you put your values out there and you attract who you bring in, I think that's the main thing, right?
For sure.
I think there's enough space for all of us. I really do.
Because all of us also have something, you know, different to bring to the table. Because that was something I was also thinking about, like launching a podcast, like, oh my God, it's so saturated. Like there's so many podcasts.
Especially like with lockdown and everything.
Yes.
Everyone was at home and they were like, what can I do?
Exactly. But hey, there are also so many influencers, and still people start and do it all the time. There are also many photographers. There are many apps, and like there's a new app launching every day. So I think that's also something to keep in mind. Like no matter what you want to start, at the end of the day, like no one will have exactly the same thoughts, the same beliefs, the same ideas as you do. Yeah. And there's always a unique angle you can find. And even like bringing your like own personality to it, that is already making it unique.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest things when it comes to like a unique selling point, isn't it? I really struggle with that question. When I've worked with like brand designers, you know, some of the questions have been like, what's your USP?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, bloody hell. It's really hard because it's down to me, really.
Yeah, it is.
And you're not going to know that unless you work with me. And it's hard, I think, to get that across in text on a web page.
Oh my God, so hard.
Yeah. So it's made me think that I need to do a video of myself now.
You shall.
And put it on the website so that people can get a bit more of a taste of what it's like to work with me.
Yes.
Yeah, I think finding your unique selling point when you're a service-based business, there's so many people in that same industry or job role. Yeah, it can be hard to distinguish. But ultimately, it's down to your personality and how you act, and like you say, your thoughts and opinions, which are really valuable.
100%. And personality, thank you for saying that, because I absolutely love that you show your personality authentically on social.
Oh, right.
That's something I'm really working on now. That's my area of being uncomfortable, but just doing it. I recently recorded like for the very first time a story of like me talking, and that was so cringe, but hey, kind of needed. And you do it so like it seems so effortlessly. Like I don't know if you just feel really comfortable on camera, but I love that you also sometimes being silly and kind of yourself. You seem to, you know, not take yourself too seriously, which I love. It's an amazing quality to have. But for someone trying to do this like myself, what is your advice? Like, how can we become more authentic on social media or really like in any kind of external facing environment?
I think the key thing you said there was that I don't take myself too seriously. And That is true. Like, I don't mind making a bit of a tit of myself, and I think that's where it comes from. It's doing the work on your own self-confidence and just letting go of what people think of you, because their opinions don't matter.
No.
If they're going to be negative, like, it's not worth your time even worrying about it. So practice makes perfect, for sure. So doing it a couple of times, you don't have to post them, film them, you put them in your drafts or you save them, whatever. But yeah, it's just practicing getting yourself in front of the camera more and more, and getting a little bit more comfortable with I still use filters.
Okay.
So filters are fine. If you want to put a filter on, make you feel a bit better. Because I don't wear makeup if I'm at home. But I do look like I've been dragged out of a hedge backwards if I don't. So, you know, things like that can help, and like visual aids as well. And also remember, no one cares about what you look like more than you.
100%.
So they're not going to be going, oh my gosh, that's an absolute state. Like, if you wash your hair, you're fine.
Exactly.
That's all.
Fake it until you make it.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, we are so obsessed.
Oh, 100%.
With how we're showing up and what we look like. And I'm telling you, your audience does not give a monkeys. Really don't. They want to be entertained, inspired, or informed. And I think they're the main things that you need to think about when you're showing up. The favourite stories that I like to watch are, people that are just acting like they're having a FaceTime with one of their friends. I think as well, the language that you use when you are showing up. So a lot of the time I've seen like people say, hi Instagram, you know, I just thought I'd pop on. No, let's get rid of that.
No.
We don't need to be putting on this facade. You can just start talking about what you want to talk about as soon as you press record.
Just start, right? Just say whatever you have to say. Don't preface by, you know, I don't know, doing a sun salutation dance. No need to do that.
No, I think having a little bit of a plan, just some bullet points, be clear and concise, because I think also the last thing that people want is waffle. They don't want to watch an Instagram story where you're just going, and saying the same thing and same thing. And don't play with that, because they're talking to their kid at the same time.
Exactly.
Like, there's a balance of being concise and to the point, and remembering what you need to talk about, but still being authentic. And I think there is definitely a way to do that.
I think also being vulnerable. Like I love when people, you know, are really authentic, but also, you know, if they say like that's weird for me, or it doesn't feel like in my comfort zone, like it's absolutely fine. And I actually appreciate when people share this kind of vulnerable side to them, because social media, and I don't know, have a love-hate relationship with it, like many people do, because it can be powerful, right? And it casts so many great, you know, ways to connect and to bring people together and to inspire, but at the same time it can be so toxic.
That was the word I was going to use.
And I was just talking to a friend recently who was like, you know what, I actually noticed that in those weeks or days that I consume a lot of social media for whatever reason, maybe I'm sick, or I don't know, I have more time, I'm on vacation, I actually start feeling worse about myself, because I see all these people either doing amazing things or looking incredible, and I'm like, well, I kind of, you know,
I'm not doing that.
Exactly, I'm not doing that. How do I compare? Like, oh, I must be like, I must suck, you know? So I think that's really kind of, you know, risky. And I said that before on the podcast, I kind of went recently and unfollowed everyone who like doesn't inspire me or doesn't add any value, because you have to protect yourself.
That's healthy.
But yeah, it's really like, it's what you make it.
It can be really damaging.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to be said for being vulnerable on social media. I have had a really good amount of engagement when I've been vulnerable. And not that it's about engagement, because it's but the conversations I've been having have been really valuable when I've been vulnerable. I feel like a lot of people resonate with that. But I think what's hard is knowing what to share. There's been certain things where I've been plagiarized before. So I shared that and I was like, yeah, this isn't okay. You can't just copy my whole web page and expect to get away from it.
Oh my God, people did that?
Yeah.
Wow.
My packages were exactly the same.
No way.
They copied Relax and Fun, Relax and Vibrant, Personal Branding Photographer, like the whole web page, all of the text.
And what did you do?
I emailed them.
And can you like sue them, or how does it work?
I mean, I sent them a very strongly worded email.
Yeah.
I didn't threaten anything, but I was like, what are you doing? And it was he.
Of course.
He came back and said, oh, you know.
Sorry.
Yeah. And tried to sort of palm it off as something else and make a lot of excuses. And I was like, yeah, I'm not here for that. Like,
no.
probably double my age.
Did he take it down?
Yeah, I think he did. He changed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just intrigued when I did my course a couple of years ago. My mentor, she had mentioned that she had been plagiarised. And for some reason, just on that random day, I just thought, oh, do you know what? I'm just going to copy and paste my copy into Google.
And then you find it.
And I was like, shit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's mad. And like, I've put so much work
of course
into my website. Like, I've built 2 of them myself, had no help. So like there was no way that I was going to let him get away with that. So yeah, there's challenges like that that I'm like happy to share because I don't know this person, I don't know anything, and it's important for me to talk about. Or if there was one time where I had a really difficult Zoom call with somebody, and I really didn't like the way he spoke to me. Again, another he. It's not all
we're not hating on men here.
Of course we're not. Yeah, just the way he spoke to me, I was like, you can't speak to me like this. Like I've never come off of a Zoom call and been shaking with rage. Yeah, it really, really shook me. And I spoke about that and I was like, you know, just had a Zoom call with a really horrible person and I worked together.
No.
And I had a lot of people come back to me and say, like, good for you. Like, you know, it's been difficult in that regard with vulnerability. But yeah, like you said, I do think it's important, but it's knowing what to share and when.
Exactly. No, I think that's a really, really powerful lesson to keep in mind. And with those kind of really hard times that I think every business owner, every freelancer encounters at one point or the other, how do you stay motivated? Because like when stuff like that happens, I'm sure you've had the thought of like, you know what, I'm out of here. Let me search for a job. Like it can be, but why am I making this so hard for me? Like how do you keep yourself motivated?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. I think taking a break really helps. It's hard because I like booking holidays. I think that's a good thing. But you need money to book the holidays. You need the jobs, you need the work. So to stay motivated, I like to have a holiday booked in. Try and just take a step back from work a little bit. There's been many a time where I wanted to give this up and go and get a proper job.
But it's also like even the thing that we say that like a proper job, right? Like don't degrade your work. You have a proper job.
Yeah, I know. That's my dad projecting on me there because he always used to say to me like as a joke, but still stung a little bit. He'd always say to me like, when are you going to go out and get a proper job and things like that? And now I'm like,
this is my business.
Yeah. And, you know, he's taking me seriously, which is great.
That's good.
Yeah, I think taking a step back is really important. But that can be hard as well because if it's your livelihood and you need to pay your mortgage, then how can you afford to take a break? So, yeah, trying to surround yourself with good people, getting outside and exercising and making time for yourself is super important. Because if you're not looking after yourself, you can't look after your business. No. So I think that's really key. Talking it out with people, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. Like it starts with your cup being full, right? Otherwise you cannot give anything, right? You don't have anything to give.
Yeah.
Well, Beth, I would love to continue chatting on, but would love to count to a final 3.
Okay.
So feel free to keep the answers rather short. It's really just meant to be as 3 quick takeaways for people. So very first question, what helped you go from idea of wanting to become a freelance photographer to actually doing it?
Put myself out there. Not afraid of rejection and trying your best.
Love it. Concise. To the point. Final number 2. What was your biggest fear when you decided to get started? And did that fear come true?
Biggest fear was not getting any clients and not earning any money from it, I think. And thankfully, no, it did not come true. Otherwise it would be.
Exactly. But that's a tough one. It's a really, valid fear to have.
Yeah, I think it was like, okay, how am I going to make a career out of this? Because I want to live a certain lifestyle and eventually, I want to buy a house. And I've got that holiday,
Those 10 holidays I booked.
Those holidays, that I want to plan. So it was more about how can I make this profitable.
Amazing. And final question, what was your greatest learning since you've embarked on this journey?
I think the most important thing that I always say to people when they ask me questions about, what do I need to do to become a photographer or start a business, it's just your network, it's just the people around you. Because they say you're the average of the 5 people you spend your most time with, right?
Oh, I love that. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm the average of my dog.
Me too. So, and I think that's really quite a powerful statement actually, because who you surround yourself with is going to make you a better person. It's going to make you grow. It's going to challenge yourself. They're going to be there to support you, to love you. So I think your network is your net worth. That is so cringy. It's such like a
so to the point
quote.
No, but it's true.
I honestly think building relationships with people and connecting with them is the most important thing that you can do in business.
Thank you, Beth. As I said, I could continue talking for so long, but
keep chatting here till next week.
But I want to be respectful of the rest of your day. And it was so lovely having you on. Thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Thank you.